Yesterday, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin made a lot of comments during a press conference, caused a lot of questions in the comments of my video, other videos online. So let's go back to the press conference. Let's talk about what he said, and let's clear the air, no pun intended, of what's going on. Hey, it's Tim, Pickup Truck Plus as we talk. I'm going to waste much time. Let's get right to it. He has his second in command or whatever, introducing him. Let's get right to what's going on. I'm going to stop the video. I got some notes.
An honor to introduce my boss and 17th Administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, Lee Zeldin.
Well, thank you to Aaron. It's great to be here with all of you for what is a very big deal. It's a very big announcement. Just to put some perspective of the magnitude of what we're here to announce today, if finalized, today's announcement would amount to the largest deregulatory action in the history of the United States. It's also great to be here specifically at Kenworth, grateful to our hosts, joined by Secretary Chris Wright, Governor Braun, Congressman Baird, and so many other leaders from the state level, the local level, leaders in industry, and we couldn't possibly find a better reason for all of us to be getting together for today's announcement. Now, there might be some coverage from reporters nationally that would like to twist what we are announcing here today. I would ask, would you want the administrator of the EPA to be ignoring the Supreme Court decisions in West Virginia versus EPA, Michigan versus EPA, ignoring the decisions in Loper Bright? Should the Environmental Protection Agency be ignoring the major policy doctrine? Do you really think that the EPA should be coming up with all of the many mental leaps that went into this endangerment finding, that took a section of the Clean Air Act 202 and put an extremely creative and unprecedented spin on it? See, some would like to simplify what the endangerment finding is by just saying carbon dioxide endangers human health and the environment and welfare. Now, that is a very oversimplified statement to the point that it's just not accurate when you look at what the endangerment finding did. Now, I'm going to follow the law and making sure I don't prejudge outcome of this rulemaking. We are going to have a public comment period, one that has not taken place on the endangerment finding over the course of the last decade and a half. We want to hear from the American public to finalize a regulation that not only proposes to rescind the endangerment finding, but all greenhouse gas emissions that followed on light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicles.
Okay, let's just stop right there and let's talk about a few things. Okay, first, why am I doing this video? So typically as a journalist, I just interview other people and I ask them questions and give me answers back. This is going to be more of an opinion type of video because I have thoughts, because I've studied this stuff the last, I don't know, 2-3 administrations now. I've read the EPA documents, I've read CAFE documents, I've read this kind of stuff. And it's interesting the way politicians speak. Lee Zeldin is trying to be this, I'm not a politician, I'm the good guy. Well, okay, you're somebody. We'll get to these details. First of all, this video came from a comment string I was into that said, the comment was, Lee said he's eliminating emission control systems altogether. Well, it turns out that during this video that I just showed you, there is a long Q&A section at the end. I am guilty as charged. I watched the video, but didn't watch the entire Q&A section at the end. Sorry. I don't watch reporter Q&A sections. I don't even attend those in the press conferences. Why? Because all reporters are trying to get this one little dig. They're trying to get that one little buzzword, whatever. They're trying to get that one aha moment. And I get tired of it. I've been doing this job 15 years. And what he said is what he said. I go off what he said. I write my story. I don't need to get this aha, I got you journalism stuff. because I find it annoying and I find it unprofessional. And what he said at the end, we'll get to the last question. It's not that big of a deal, but I could see why people thought it was a huge issue. Also, I used the word rollback. Other people said rollback in the titles. In the EPA document, he said rescind. He said undo. We're just words. I understand words do matter. Okay, let's talk about something else that happened in the conversation. So he brought up this fact that the EPA, the gosh darn EPA, those bastards never did a public hearing of the final rule for the endangerment. They never talked about this public health. They never talked about this public period. It's interesting because in the EPA.gov climate change, the 2009 endangerment findings, when they found it, they have this background. In the background document, EPA held a 60-day public comment period, which ended June 23rd, 2009. They received over 380,000 public comments. You see this chart here on pickuptrucktalk.com. Do you know where I got this chart from? I got it from the EPA. Yes, this chart that I can't seem to blow up. This chart came from the EPA. They actually laid out all the years they did work on the endangerment finding, and they laid out all the public hearing, the dates, the time, and not even the times, the dates and the places. They had public hearings. They ended the 60-day public hearing. The comment period was closed. So I don't know what the hell Lee Zeldin's talking about, but here's all your public hearing information from you guessed it, EPA. What's Lee Zeldin in charge of? You guessed it, the EPA. So I don't know what the hell he's talking about. But if you're going to get political here, this all started back in 1999. Who was in office? Bill Clinton. Who finalized this? Who started this process with the EPA? This 2007, get things up rolling? That was President Bush. Who was in office here? This is President Obama. So you can blame a Republican, a Democrat, or a Democrat, Republican. Who are you going to blame? Whatever party suits your blame, that's fine. But all the parties are both involved. It all came out of a Massachusetts versus EPA court decision. So you have environmental groups got involved, energy groups, other organizations started it. Supreme Court got involved, and then the EPA had to get involved because they were forced to, and then public hearings, and then how it came out. So it's interesting. That's how things worked, okay? So I don't know what he's talking about when he discusses this. I'm like, where are you getting this from? It doesn't make any sense to me. So that's the initial part of that conversation. So let's get to more of this video and more of the stuff that Lee Zeldin is talking about, because he clearly has all the answers. Maybe not. So let's get to this. It's like a 5:55 mark, which I find this humorous.
Because we give ourselves that power. We will follow the law. If Congress wants to amend Section 202 of the Clean Air Act and tell us that they want us to be regulating the heck out of carbon dioxide, methane, and these other greenhouse gases, then we'll follow the law.
Okay, a few notes. The Supreme Court cases he's referring to, they're basically the Chevron deference. Chevron deference was a law principle that meant that in ambiguity, when the lawmakers didn't specifically say a government agency should do this, then that's the way they should do their job, the agency could rely on experts within their offices to say, yeah, our job is to make sure the air is clean. And to do that, we need to regulate, say, number of balloons that go in the air. So we're going to make sure that only 2 balloons go up per county. Obviously, I'm making this stuff up. But that's what happened. They didn't want Congress saying, okay, we want 2 balloons per county, because that was just going to bog down Congress. And people had a big problem with this because they thought the agencies had too much leeway. And Zeldin had, seriously, he's got to stick up his butt about this because he brings it up many, many times. So they did away with that. So now the EPA can't make these rules. Fine. So they got to rely on Congress, the do-nothing Congress, do that for like my entire adult life, to make this stuff happen. So you're going, unless Congress tells the EPA that they have to enforce greenhouse gases and make sure that greenhouse gases are part of their mandate, he's not doing it. it turns out Congress sort of did this. During the Inflation Reduction Act, which I believe was 2022, they included language in there to amend the Clean Air Act to have the EPA focus on greenhouse gases. Is it Section 202 specifically? No, it is not. It is in the Clean Air Act. Yes, it is. It's like Section like 301 or 137, whatever. But the point is, Congress went out of its way to put greenhouse gases in the Clean Air Act and further cement the endangerment finding into law. But Lee Zeldin's cherry picking 202 to say, no, it's not there. I don't follow it. That's not happening. Congress told us we don't follow that law. So I don't understand where he's not paying attention to this. Because Congress is the will of the people. And the will of the people, 2022, said we want the EPA to focus on greenhouse gases. And greenhouse gases, which, by the way, let's get to the story as well. What are the greenhouse gas light truck rules? Well, what all he's talking about was this was a rule they're doing more advanced gasoline, hybrid, plug-in hybrid, and battery electric powertrains. And we'll get to why this matters. Because it matters with the start-stop technology, which is people hate this stuff as well. Oh, excuse me. Let me share the screen with you differently. Let me remove that. Let me share it differently. I screwed up. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to share the window. Yeah. So there we go. Sorry. 1 second. Yeah. So greenhouse gas emissions that apply to light, medium duty vehicles, medium duty, and heavy duty. What they're asking for is they're asking for more hybrids, plug-in hybrids, EVs, and battery electric powertrains. That's what the fight's over. That's really what this is all about. That's all it is. Not diesel powertrains, not diesel emissions. This is really about are these factors. And Lee Zeldin's really upset about start-stop technology. Even though we have start-stop eliminators, even though once you go a hybrid powertrain, start-stop doesn't matter. You don't even notice it, and it doesn't impact your starter. It's a pain in the ass. People don't like it. I don't really love it either. I don't even notice it anymore. It's not, but he has got it. Stick up a butt about it. He freaking hates it. Okay, great. Get rid of it. All they do is they give an off-duty cycle, or they give a credit, to automakers to put it in their system, the vehicles. So he wants to get rid of that, but he can't really get rid of that because it's a law that's part of the EPA. And since he's got to make changes now with Congress, he's kind of handcuffed. And so he's really pissed off about this. You can tell he's really fired up about this. So he can't make that change. So this is really what it is. So it's interesting because if you watch more of the video around the 355 to 3720 mark, which this video is already 12 minutes long. I don't want to go much longer than that, showing more of the stuff. The head of the American Trucking Association points out that a truck today versus a truck 1980. So 60 trucks today emit the same pollution that a truck did in 1980. So diesel trucks today burn much cleaner than they did in 1980. So they want the clean diesel technology. I think it's interesting because people in the comments of this video below will say, that's a load of BS, Tim. They know it's unreliable. They know it's garbage. They know DEF is terrible. They know the stuff's junk. And the American Trucking Association is on record saying they love the clean diesel technology. The Engine Technology Forum that advocates for diesel technology in Congress tells me that clean diesel is where it's at. They're advocating for that. People are trying to get more diesel engines in operation to keep them alive, to keep them in operation worldwide because of how good the diesel technology is for cleaning the diesel emissions. And you guys in the comments are going, I'm deleting it because it's a load of crap. And it's like, back to my friend Lee Zeldin. Sorry, this guy's fun. 48. So it's like right around here. This video's insane.
Journal of Forecasting, Climate Dynamics, Bulletin of the American Meteorological.
So he's pointing out he's pointing out a variety of scientists who are going to go on his side, and it's a White House scientist. So clearly they handpicked their scientists. We're going to say that the greenhouse gas emissions are not causing any sorts of climate change. They're not impacting public health and public welfare. And what I think is interesting about the whole deal is nobody's arguing that carbon dioxide is bad for you. Let me be very clear about this. I've read the scientific stuff on this. Nobody's saying carbon dioxide is bad for you. Trees need it. Earth creates it. Nobody's saying that. he's mixing things up, which I think is hilarious. Nobody's saying that. What are they saying? They're being pretty clear about this. They're saying it's the amount. It's like this. And I explain this like this to everybody. You're going to have dinner. You go to McDonald's. You could have 1 quarter pounder with dinner, right? 1. Nobody's saying 1 quarter pounder is a problem. What the scientists are saying, if you have 20 quarter pounders for dinner, that might be a problem. That's what they're saying. That's it. Full stop. Time out. That's it. That's all they're saying. They're not saying carbon dioxide is a problem. That's what the talking heads on the news stations at night get all mad about. That's what they all get confused about. Nobody's saying carbon dioxide is a problem. They're saying the volume and the amount of it's a problem. And you're right. It's a problem with we have too many people on this planet. We have too many airplanes. We have too many buses. We have too many semis. We have too many trains. We have too many of everything. It's a problem. There is no surefire fix. But what the scientists are saying, this is what's going on. And then it's up to leaders and politicians on how to take that data, decide whether it's an issue or not, and how to say if we want to address that issue. So that's all the science is saying. It's saying 1 quarter pounder is fine. 20, probably not the way you want to go. I mean, you could, if you can find a pair of pants to fit, or maybe you just wear big old sweatpants all the time. Up to you. Your choice.
This is the final question, sir.
Garrett Bergquist, Wish TV, Indianapolis. In effect, if placed into effect as currently envisioned, does this rule effectively reset the emission standards for autos, light, medium, heavy duty trucks back to 2008 standards? What sorts of things will be left in place? What will be taken out?
As it relates to greenhouse gas emission standards on light duty, medium duty, and heavy duty, it doesn't reset anything. It eliminates everything. This proposed rule is a proposal to eliminate the endangerment finding, to eliminate greenhouse gas standards, all the regulations that came out, including the electric vehicle mandates, all of the greenhouse gas standards for light, medium, and heavy duty. And as a bonus, we're also proposing to get rid of that much hated off-cycle credit for start-stop technology. There's a lot included in this rule. It's over 300 pages. I would encourage everyone to read it. Thank you again, everyone, for being here. This is an exciting day for our country. It's an exciting.
Okay, so what did he really say? He said it's going to focus on greenhouse gas light-duty rules. So what they want to get rid of is any ideas or any rules that are going to have automakers or have businesses or states, whatever, force companies to buy hybrid, plug-in hybrid, battery electric vehicles along with their normal transportation diesels and gasoline vehicles. So what their rule was written, like, for example, California had a clean trucks rule. So the idea was for every diesel truck you bought, you'd have to buy a hybrid or a battery electric truck. So I had automakers tell me that initially it was going to be like a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 kind of scenario, and eventually be a 1-to-1 scenario. So what they envisioned these companies would go buy a new diesel truck, then go buy a battery van and park the van behind their warehouse and just leave it. And then buy a diesel truck, buy a battery van, put it behind the warehouse. They didn't actually anticipate them using the van. That's how they're going to get around the regulations. But that's what the regulations were. And that's what he wanted to get rid of, which made common sense. I was totally for this plan. The plan, the way it was written, was stupid. Like, it was just a dumb mandate. And the mandate didn't make sense because the politicians who wrote it were in fairy tale world and didn't understand that the rollout of EVs wasn't what they thought it was. They were living in Jetson world, and they thought they were just going to be magical device engines and their powertrains, do whatever they want to do. So it didn't work out the way they thought because they were living, again, in fairy tale world. So what we wanted to see happen, and I want to see what happened, was I was always an advocate of let technology lead the way when it made sense. And that's the bigger story here, is that he's saying common sense, which is, yeah, the capitalism, companies should dictate what they want to buy. This makes total sense. Now, companies also should buy things that improve the bottom line. So if you come out with a diesel powertrain, let's say it's got a hybrid component that can idle on the battery and not use fuel, which has significant savings and doesn't plug up the DPF by idling, the diesel particulate filter, then that's a win-win. And companies will want to buy that. Automakers want to build that because it would save the company's money. Automakers will get a little more money because they can sell the battery too. That makes sense. So for me, it's not just about environmental stuff, which that's always a kick and bonus, right? Yeah, but you also can run a diesel truck quieter. Man, that's a sound benefit for sure. Cities are really loud. You can also run it with less emissions. It's always a good thing, especially in a city environment where everything's kind of trapped in. And you can run it cheaper. And you can have less downtime because now you have less engine hours of idling on the diesel engine. So those are the things I think should be moved forward. The industry itself will keep moving forward. The diesel engine technologies will keep moving forward because that's the way the industry wants. The industry wants to keep looking for solutions to keep moving forward and have more reliability, less downtime, more fuel efficiency. That's not going to stop. What they wanted to do is stop the federal mandates from happening. This is all about EV mandates, greenhouse gas emissions, and getting rid of those mandates and letting the industry make its own choices. So don't get overwhelmed by saying, oh, this is just taking everything off of it and restricting the emissions off diesel trucks. I mean, open those all up and toss all those stuff off the trucks. That's not happening. This is all about letting the industry lead forward, not have the government move forward. And then, my points of reference on Zeldin, like he needs to spend more time with the EPA. I don't know what he's doing over there, but the documents there in EPA.gov seem to contradict what he's saying. So I can't really figure that one out at all. But anyways, hey, for more pickup videos over here, website down below as well, pickuptrucktalk.com. As always, thanks for watching. I will see you down the road.